Hi, my name is Lorinda LeClain, and I'm going to tell you about my senior capstone paper. It's called The Anatomy of a Southern Ohio Coal Town. And I wrote this because I live in a little coal town that was once a big boom town, and although it survived somewhat, there was many in the region that did not. It started out around the 1830. There was a man that came here to town. His name was James Knight, and he came from England, and so he had dabbled a little bit in the coal industry there. And he came here, and he had a blacksmithing shop, and he would dig from his own yard coal to use to fire his forge. So he was thinking there's quite a bit of coal in this area, and it could help. So in 1834, he wrote to a man by the name of Dr. Samuel P. Hildreth, who resided in Marietta and was part of the Society of Men and Geologists. In the letter, he described how many different types of minerals were in abundance in the area and how coal would even seep out of the hills and valleys. He's seen how this could be a big thing for the valley. So the next issue was how to transport the coal once they dug it up. Many would just dig it up, put it in their wheelbarrows to use in for their own areas here, or in their own yards to heat with. So the next thing that came along was the canal system. Unfortunately, James didn't live long enough for the canal. When the canals came in 1840, he had died in 1836, but he had seen it coming on the horizon. With the canal system, the coal could be transported to bigger towns such as Columbus, Ohio, and then it could also be taken down the Ohio River to areas such as Portsmouth, where it could be then taken on down, even to the Mississippi. This was one of the first modes of transportation that came to the area. So the canal system was here for quite a few years until about late 1860s. Then the train system came through, and that made a world of difference. The trains could transport the coal much quicker, much faster than the canals. So this opened up a lot of opportunities, and then there was more men who came to become the coal operators or coal barons to the area. Only a few actually lived down here. Many other ones would live in Columbus, Cincinnati. Some were out of Chicago, and they ran many of the coal mines. They brought in a lot of immigrants too over time. The first ones were from England, Welsh, Scottish. Since there was coal mining there, they came with already a knowledge at the time. By 1883 or 1885, there became kind of a monopoly on the coal between two different big companies, and this didn't sit well with the coal miners, and they wanted to cut their wages, the price of the coal, and then that would bring down their wages from, I think it was like 80 cents to like 50 cents. So that caused unrest, so they decided to go on a coal mine strike, which was really big. I think it made national news at the time. That was in 1884 to 1885 was the Great Hocking Valley Mine Strike. At that time, some of the coal operators brought in immigrants from, I think there was some Italian immigrants, Russian, Polish, Hungarian, German. There was even a group of African Americans that they went down and got from Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia to bring in to mine the coal. And at that time, they didn't know they were coming to be the strike breakers, and that caused unrest with the workers that were already here, because that was taking over their jobs, and these people were coming in making less but taking over their jobs. The coal mine strike ended about 1885. After that time, the coal mining wasn't as big for a little while until early 1900s. Between 1910 and 1920, it was pretty steady. Let's see. And there were many little towns that popped up that were here. And then when a mine got worked out, they would die down. Many of the coal miners, of course, were paid in scrip, and that meant they could only shop at that specific mine company store. They couldn't go and shop at other stores like we would today, where we could go to any town we wanted and shop in any store we wanted. Their money was only good at a certain store. The coal companies also owned their homes, pretty much owned everything in the town. You just owed your life to them. And when a coal mine would get worked out, the people sometimes were able to buy their homes, but then the work also went away too. So unless they had another job in that area, they would oftentimes move on. By the 1930s, it had died down quite a bit. Now, there was a large coal mining explosion on November 5th of 1930 that killed over 82 men. And sadly, that coal mine, once it was inspected, it was up and running within 2 or 3 weeks later. And until 1945, I believe, then they come in and it shut down and finally died out. After that, most of it was surface mining, and there was more equipment. By the time you got to the 1930s, they created a lot more equipment. So the underground mining, even though there was still one here till just a couple years ago, most of it was the above ground mining, and it didn't need near as many men to work it. So by today, many of these little towns are gone. A few have survived. Like the one I live in, there is a small community college that has employed people. There's a shoe factory that was once here that is still here, but doesn't supply as many jobs as it used to. So now everybody's holding on pretty much with tourism. Tourism is the big thing now. Being so close to the Hocking Hills, we get a lot of people coming down and to see the old coal mining towns. I know there's one place near here that is an old company store that's now been turned into a restaurant and like microbrewery. So that's pretty much about the coal mining boom and bust in this area. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.